Well, hey, you fabulous interior design professional. How do I know you're fabulous? Because I know you're fabulous. I do. Yes, I do. I think we're all fabulous. And from time to time, we need a little help with our business. I know for sure that is true for me. And sometimes, frequently, the help can come in the form of terrific marketing advice or a new marketing strategy or a new marketing implementation. So we went back to someone we adore, Daniela Furtado. You may remember her. She was on episode 427, and we talked about small projects. Are they worthwhile? This time, I really put Daniela in the hot seat, and I said, I'm going to ask you the most common marketing questions we get at Business of Design, and you're going to have to rapid fire answer them. And she does a great job of making it very approachable and super realistic. Now, you may remember that Daniela runs Findable Digital Media, and she works with design and construction firms. She also writes Marketing Meets Design, which is a weekly email newsletter, and you may want to sign up for that. And annoyingly, she speaks 4 languages. I say annoyingly because I'm struggling with Spanish. Most of you know that. I probably will die thinking that I can't quite speak Spanish the way that I want to speak Spanish, but maybe not. Daniela recommends I go to Mexico for 6 months and live, and that's an interesting possibility. Yeah. Now, Daniela can be reached at findableidigitalmarketing.com and on LinkedIn, and go to businessofdesign.com for those links. Also, she has a 30-day program and a 12-month program, and she would love to hear from you for sure. In this episode, I'm going to ask her the burning questions about how do we determine if a marketing campaign is working or not working? What can we do about referral strategies? Are there ways to get more referrals? Because I don't know about you, but I love to get great referrals. We're going to talk about, is there a good balance between residential and commercial projects, and how do you approach that on your website if you do both? Or how do you approach two very different services? So for example, if you're doing DIY decorating and high-end luxury design, how do you approach that? Danielle has really good advice on that. And then number 4, this is like a third rail issue because people have big feelings about this. Should you put prices on your website? And spoiler alert, Daniela wins for my latest tattoo because she says this: talk about money early and often. Talk about money early and often. Yet another tattoo I need to put on my body, and another great episode with Daniela Furtado. We're so glad you're here. Let's hear from Cheryl Horn, and we'll jump right into the episode.
Thanks, Kimberly. Well, if you were listening to this live on launch day, our next group coaching session for members is happening tomorrow, June 18th. And the next one coming up after that is July 16th. So especially if you're new to membership, we would love for you to join in these calls. This is when you get access to Kimberly as well as your fellow members to find out what other people are working on in their business, what they're experiencing right now in the business. And, you make those connections, get feedback on what you're working on, and you can really move things forward in your business. In between those coaching calls, of course, you've got access to me for spot coaching. I want to make sure you get answers to your questions as you have them, because we don't want to hold up the learning process, and especially the implementation process. If you've just learned something and you're eager to start making those changes in your business, I'm available to help you then. But I'm also available for calls if you are interested in membership. I know for a lot of you, it's easier to send a quick email, and that is fine as well. But if you want to set up a quick, 15-minute call with me to talk about membership, talk about where you're at in your business and where I would recommend you start once you dive in, I love taking those calls. I don't want unanswered questions to be the thing that's holding you back from joining and making these changes in your business. So if you want to set up a call with me, please reach out, Cheryl, CHERYL, at businessofdesign.com. I realize there's a few different ways to spell my name, and I just, randomly say Cheryl at businessofdesign.com, but please do reach out. Let's set up a call and talk, or by all means, send your questions by email. But whatever's holding you back from becoming a Business of Design member, please reach out. Let's get that resolved and let's get you started on the journey to improving your business. We'd love to have you join. Thanks so much.
Daniela's back. We love when you come on the show. I always have so many questions for you. In fact, today I have questions for you.
Yeah, you have a lot of questions.
I do. There's these typical marketing questions that people have all the time. And we thought it might be fun just to rapid fire them at you. You haven't had time to think about them.
Okay.
So you're really on the spot here. We're going to see if Daniela really knows her stuff. We think she does.
This feels dangerous, but let's do it. I'm up for the challenge.
Okay, number one question about marketing that we get at Business of Design all the time, and we say we're not marketers. We're not marketing experts. But the number one question we get is, how do you know if your marketing is working? How can you tell if you've spent money on this marketing campaign? How do you know if it's working?
Yeah, this is a really, really difficult question. It's a common one, but it's a difficult one. It's like asking your doctor, why am I sick? And your doctor doesn't have any context about you. They don't know what your current health is like, your lifestyle, if you're on medications, what your family history is like. They don't know your blood results. You haven't done a urine test. That's what it's like asking someone, is my marketing working? There's a lot of context that's missing, but there are two giveaway signs.
Hey, you fabulous interior design professional. This episode is brought to you by Xena, the smarter business card for project-based businesses like ours. If you're tired of chasing receipts, guessing where your money went, or sorting spreadsheets at midnight, Xena is your new favorite tool. With Xena, every purchase or business expense is automatically tracked by project, budgets update in real time, and reconciliation, it's done for you. It even integrates seamlessly with QuickBooks, so you can finally ditch the admin stress and focus on what actually grows your business. And the best part, you can sign up for free without even putting down your credit card, so you can try it with zero commitment. Head to Xena.com, that is Zena.com, to sign up and activate your Xena card in minutes.
There are two giveaway signs. One, when someone, and I think I've said this in a previous podcast episode, when people use the language like, I feel like it's not working, that to me is a telltale sign that they're not in touch with the numbers, that their marketing strategy probably doesn't have numbers or KPIs or milestones at month 3, month 5, month 9 and 12.
Data
driven,
or data. Yeah.
And they're not tracking it. So if you don't have it as a goal, you either don't have numbers or data as a goal, and you're probably not measuring it as you go along. So you're really using your gut feeling to help judge whether your marketing is working or not. And that's no bueno. You don't want that.
Right. I can put my hand. Oh my God. You just said no bueno. I forgot. You speak 4 languages. You are so annoying. I've worked so hard at being able to speak Spanish, and Spanish is not, apparently, say people who speak multiple languages, not the toughest language to learn.
No, it's very easy.
Stop it. Don't say that. It's really hard. I can read it better and I can understand a lot, but when I go to speak, I just suck at it.
Kimberly, it's so easy. Just go to Mexico for 6 months. Don't come back to Toronto. Go straight to Mexico. Learn Spanish. I studied Mandarin as a minor in university.
Of course you did. What a smarty pants. Okay, and
then Spanish afterwards. And Spanish was a walk in the park after studying Mandarin for 2 years.
Oh God, you smarty pants, you. I am going to Barcelona for a month this year to a school.
Amazing.
Yeah. Okay, sorry. You just said que bueno, and then I was like, or no bueno. You said no bueno. I completely lost track of what the hell we were talking about. Is your marketing? You said if you're going by your instincts.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I felt something was going this way or that way, and the numbers proved I was 100% wrong.
Yeah.
And I think I'm someone who has pretty good intuition, and I am wrong.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sometimes
It's data. Do the data.
it
Run
happens
the
all the
numbers.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing, and I can give a story afterwards to contextualize all of this. The other thing to keep in mind is that success looks different uh, at different times, right? Because sales and marketing or running a business, it's not a straight line. It usually compounds over time. So the longer you're in business, the more your network grows, your reputation grows, you have more projects, you have more reach. And then if we're talking digitally, for example, if we're speaking specifically about SEO, one of the factors that Google takes into consideration when ranking your website is domain age. So literally, the longer you're in business, the easier it is for you to rank your business or your website on Google because of the age and all these different factors, right? So it compounds over time, which means that success in month one looks very different from success in month nine. So when we're asking ourselves, is our marketing working? Well, it also depends on where along are you. If you're just starting out, then working, means are you putting out content? Is the content indexing on Google? Is it getting views on social media? Are you getting responses from your press releases? It doesn't mean getting published or getting sales right away. It just means progress or traction. And then once you've been doing it for 12 months, then you can have higher expectations. Like, yes, then it's reasonable to expect a certain number of inquiries to come in or a certain amount of press features to be landed or demos to be booked or online orders to be placed if you have an e-commerce. So context really, really matters.
But the point is you have to be paying attention. Like
Yeah.
so often I would throw down money for some campaign, pay no attention. At the end they'd
Hmm.
say, "Okay, do you want to do it again?" I'd go, "Sure, I guess it's working." I don't
Right.
know if it's working. And if it wasn't working, how crazy that I would have spent that money. Okay, quiero la historia en español, por favor. No, you don't have to give it to me, but I do. You said you had a story. I want the story.
Right. So you were talking about how oftentimes you have a feeling about something, and then when you look at the data, you were quite surprised with yourself.
How wrong
So
I was.
yeah, so we have one client, great, great client. We love working with her. And before we started working together, she signed a 12-month agreement with us. Before we started working together, I told her multiple times during the sales process in the contract, you're not going to get any leads in the first 3 months because you're starting from like complete
Yeah.
like the ground up, right? So you're not going to get any leads in the first 3 months, but you should start seeing them come in between months 6 and 9. And then after that, then they'll be consistent and it will increase month to month. But that's how I was setting expectations.
Yeah.
So we sign on, we're 3 months in, and she says, I see that we're getting traffic. I see the reports that you guys are sending us, and it's technically working, but I feel like I should have more leads by now. And I was scratching my head and thinking, but we're only 3 months in. You're not supposed to get any leads. So I thought, okay, how many leads were you getting this time last year? And she said, I got 3 leads. And I got, how many leads have you gotten this year so far? And she said, well, I got 9. And I'm like, where did those 9 come from? And she gave me the breakdown. And mind you, every time I asked this question, she didn't have the data on
Right,
hand. She had to go
right.
look for it, right? And by the end of the conversation, we were kind of looking at each other awkwardly, like, okay, actually, you're doing
Got a
quite
lot of
well.
leads.
I know
Yeah.
9 is not a crazy number, but when we put it into context and you
Well, compared to
compare it to the
3.
year, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's not like that's normal,
Yeah.
like it was a big wake up call to me to have those conversations earlier, to
Yeah.
not just say we're going to increase leads, but to quantify it for clients. So
Yeah.
nowadays, before we sign on clients, I ask for that historical data up front, and I use that data to set goals for every single client before we even sign a contract. So that was a big
Smart.
learning lesson for me.
Smart.
But it was also really insightful for her to look at the data more often to evaluate anyone's performance.
Yeah, which is true all around. So I love that. So what you're saying is there are genuine ways you can measure whether or not your marketing is working. Don't guess.
Totally,
You'll be wrong, like me. Don't guess. Don't be an idiot.
totally.
Okay. What about referral
Yeah.
strategies? I seem to get referrals from clients,
Okay.
which is lovely. I do not get referrals from my trades. Like, what do people what referral strategy is there when you're working with a marketing expert? How do you feel about a referral strategy, I guess, for lack of a better term?
Yeah, sometimes referrals from other parallel vendors are a great source of business opportunities, or even just working together to submit a proposal or present a proposal and land a project.
Hmm.
And it doesn't have to be based, like you don't have to rely on luck or chance. This could be something that you could be intentional about. So if you haven't worked with people already, reach out to people and build a genuine connection. Follow them on social media. So maybe there's like a real estate agent or an accountant or that you know about. You've just heard about them through the grapevines. Maybe you you've heard prospects or clients talk about them. I'm just like making up a story here, right?
Yeah.
And so you've heard about this person, reach out to them, follow them on social media, like a few posts, and then slide in their DMs and send a real message like, hey, I've heard about you. I've heard about the great work that you're doing. Would love to jump on a virtual coffee chat. No sales pitch, just gotta like just want to meet you and maybe there could be
Yeah.
a synergy here. Be genuine, be real. Don't be salesy or corny or tacky.
Yeah.
Um, and
Interesting.
and start with that. Start with building that relationship. Pay attention if they mention their birthday or a place that they like. Remember things about them. Try to really build a genuine relationship because this person, if they're going to end up referring clients to you, they're going to be particular. They want to be picky about who they're referring to. They want to make sure that they can speak on your behalf. And so they're going to gatekeep their network
Yeah.
and you're gonna have to put the time and effort into building that relationship. It's not gonna happen overnight.
Yeah.
And so, keep tabs on this person and it'll happen organically. If you vibe, then you can meet in person, you can offer to go to their office, you can meet over coffee, whatever it may be, and you can find small ways to work together. It could be something small like a co-marketing initiative. It could be a small project that comes up that seems like a good fit. And the reason this can be strategic because you can keep a spreadsheet of people that you're keeping tabs on. You can make it a habit, have a task for yourself in your project management system where every quarter or every month you look through your spreadsheet and you ask yourself, who have I haven't reached out for in a while? This
Mhm.
is not a waste of time. This is what it means to be um, a strategic, high performing salesperson.
Yeah.
This is yeah, it's not I used to think it was a waste of time, but it absolutely isn't. You can be intentional about these things. You don't have to leave it to chance and keep notes of your contacts.
Excellent.
Remember their birthdays, remember small things about them. If you see a research paper or something out there or maybe a conference is looking for speakers and you remember that this contact says that they love public
Right.
speaking, pass it on to them. So really pay attention and look for opportunities to nurture that connection. And probably within 6 months of doing that or less, they'll start sending referrals to you and they'll put their gates or their walls down and you'll see opportunities come. And it's got to be reciprocal too, right?
Yeah.
Like, you don't just want leads or referrals from them, but you got to pass it on to them as well.
Yeah. It's interesting. There's definitely I love that you can be strategic about it. You don't have to just leave it to chance. For so many years, I just left that kind of stuff to chance. There's definitely a wrong way to approach. Every
Yeah.
week we get calls from somebody who's like, "Hey, it's Nick. Give me a call." Like,
Yeah.
seriously, Nick? No. Or this is so and so. We build kitchens and we do the best kitchens and we're here and we invite you to come to our showroom. Yeah,
Yeah.
no. Thanks for the invitation to drive to your showroom to give you business. Thanks for that
Yeah.
invite. no, but no. Um, I think sometimes too, just, I sort of take it for granted that I get referrals from clients, but the reason I get referrals from clients is I am now so attuned to getting testimonials from clients as projects are ongoing. If a client says, "Oh my God, that was so great. I love how blah, blah, blah happened." I'm like, "There's my testimonial. I'm writing this down. Can
Yeah.
we use this on our website?" And they go, "Yeah, sure." And they don't have to do anything. I haven't given them homework. I just
Yeah.
said, like, can we write this down? Can I use your name? How do you feel about your first name and your last name? Because it's more legitimate if you have a real person. Can we use your photo? I get them in a moment when they're all hepped up on us and they go, sure. And I'm like, can I use this photo from Facebook? Yep, great. Send it to the office. It's up. The testimonial is done. And I do the same thing with referrals. Oh my God, this project
Mm.
is fun. Who you got for me next? Like this project's going to be done in 6 months. I'm going to need somebody just like you. Who is she? Which one of your friends is doing
Amazing,
a job,
Kimberly.
And like that's how I get my best referrals. Oh, well, this woman who lives next door to us at the cottage, she mentioned blah blah blah. And I'm like, oh, hook me up. And then
That's
give them a
brilliant.
yeah, just to become a habit, I think.
But
But
you've
it starts with
also,
strategy.
yeah, yeah. I love the way that you phrase that. Like if I were a listener, I would rewind and literally write down what you said because it's very clear, Kimberly, that you found your way of doing it. You found your
Yes.
style, you found
Yeah.
your language, and that feels very organic to you. It doesn't feel forced. You don't
Right.
have to send an automated email.
Yeah.
You don't have to like systematize it because it's so ingrained in how you operate.
Right.
And yeah, and so oftentimes we hear very established businesses sometimes saying, oh, they just come to me, but they probably don't realize that they do have a system behind it. It's just
Mhm.
not documented somewhere in some training manual, but
Yeah.
it's a skill that they've acquired,
Yeah.
that there's something they're consistent with. And that's the type of thing that like if you job shadow a person long enough, you would pick up on those things and they
Yeah.
wouldn't even realize it.
That's
Like, oh,
true. I don't even think about it, but somewhere in business of design in our training modules, could be step 7, it could be step 8. I talk about how we organically get referrals in the project. It could be but it does over time. It's a muscle you just use all the time, which is really good.
yeah.
But the thing is, you do want them. When business is slow, sometimes those referrals are the only thing coming in. Like if the economy is right now, where Canada is feeling the threat of constant tariffs. And
Mm.
so a lot of my clients are saying, whoa, put it on hold. I don't know, so I need more clients now. I'm lucky that I have a bag of tricks I can dig and say, oh, you mentioned the cottage. Should we start now, before the tariffs happen
Mm.
again, kind of thing. Okay, so that's the second one. Referral strategies are important, and there's a way to do it to build a genuine connection. How about this in terms of marketing? When I'm thinking I'm going to hire a marketing expert, I always wonder, is there a right mix in terms of residential versus commercial? How do you care about that when you're dealing with your clients?
Yeah. Okay. I have an opinion about this. I might get some pushback, and I'm really curious to hear what you think. I am a believer that these things should be separated. I think they're
Mhm.
completely different target customers. And if you can't do it now, work towards separating the two brands, having a residential on one side and commercial on the other. And that could be quite broad already, like commercial. Does that mean retail, hospitality,
Yeah.
offices?
Hospitals, oh
Um,
my gosh, it's huge.
yeah,
Yeah.
as a marketer,
Interesting.
I think it speaks to different, like the client that you have for residential is oftentimes very different for commercial, and your sales process is different too. Now, that's not always realistic. I think that's like standard marketing advice that you would separate. It's quite common in a lot of any other industry that you have a parent company and the parent company has sister
Right.
companies and divisions, and each one speaks to a different target customer and each one has a different brand.
Right.
So oftentimes we work with the more mature clients, the ones that have been around for 10, 15 plus years, they
Yeah.
have that already set up. They've grown in a way that it makes sense for them to have divisions. Um, but when you're smaller, it can be overwhelming. It can be kind of an overkill. And in that case, I would have it clearly differentiated on the website. Having a service page for each or in your portfolio, having a way like a tab that people can separate so that when you're speaking to a commercial lead, you have links that are separated and dedicated to those to that
Mhm.
target customer.
I don't disagree with that at all. I think that's really
Okay.
smart. Yeah. No, I think that's really smart. I've thought of that in similar situations, not so much with commercial and residential, but there are designers who, when business gets slow, they start saying, I'm going to do e-design. And
Mm,
then I'm going to also do high-end luxury clients. Well, those are two different universes. I would
yeah,
never put those two things on my one website. I would have a
right,
completely unassociated brand doing DIY
right.
from my brand that's high-end because there's no way I would believe that Coco Chanel, haute couture is the same as buying Coco Chanel at Target. It's just
Sure.
eek. But I don't know. Interesting. The only commercial projects we ever get, because we don't advertise at all for commercial projects, are those that a residential client has. So the residential client says,
Yeah.
we also have a condo in Florida. Can you come and do the lobby? Oh, yeah, let's do it. That's fun. I love that. So it seems like we just get a walk in the park. We just get like, here's a commercial project, take it.
Yeah.
So that's fun, but interesting. I guess you might think about that in all kinds of ways, separating parts of your brand that seem inconsistent
Yeah.
or
Or
have a
speak.
different sales process.
Yeah. And a different
Mhm.
target customer. I see it a lot
Mhm.
more with the commercial, with clients that are in commercial spaces. So, for example, we
Yeah,
just signed on a general contractor. They do
right.
commercial general contracting. So the they they made like $4 million in revenue last year, or sorry, they made 12 million and 4 million came from daycare, I think. Anyways,
Okay.
the idea is they've been doing all types of commercial,
Yeah.
and they had it all over their website, and they're seeing that a substantial part of the business is doing daycares and early learning centers. And so going forward, when they're thinking strategically about their business, they want to build out a division that's
Yeah.
specifically for daycare. So when they go to trade
Mhm.
shows, they have a website that's dedicated to that. They have marketing material dedicated to that that doesn't feature the medical clinics that they've done, right? And it's easier to build trust with people in a digital age when people are looking at your website and your online presence so quickly and they're coming up with quick judgments when everything about the website, about the flyer, about the brochure, everything about your that you're presenting to them says early learning center or daycare or whatever that niche is. It's clear, oh, they're experts in this. They don't
That
have to
is
question.
true. I never thought of that. That's really, really important to think about that you don't
Mhm.
want people wandering around your website to find the one thing they're looking for. If
Right.
it's important enough to be on your website, is to be clear that this is
Hmm.
what you do. And you're right, you can't be expert at everything. As long as we're talking about websites, then I think we have time for one more question. Prices on your website. How do you feel about prices on the website?
I think they got to be there. You got to have at least
Right
starting
on.
prices. You got to talk about money, be transparent, get comfortable with it because like that's how you filter people. Have
Yeah.
it on your service page, your contact form. You can have a drop down menu where you're asking people for their budget and you can categorize them. We have some clients that even include it in their case studies or their portfolio where they'll include the budget because it helps
Mhm.
adjust expectations. Like you see this beautiful project, this is how
Interesting.
much it costed.
Yeah.
So I'm a big believer. I think it's the business savvy thing to do is to talk about money early and often, and that starts with your website.
Say it again. Say it again. Talk about money.
Early and often.
Did you hear that? Say it again one more time. Just want to make sure everybody hears that.
Talk about money early and often.
Yeah, because it's a real hang up for a lot of creative professionals. Just the
Yeah.
idea of talking about money is so scary. And the more you just jump in and just get it out of the way and set that anchor price. We talked about the last time you were on the show, we touched on the anchor price. It gets so much easier to talk about money and
Yeah.
stop trying to give the clients a Mercedes for the price of a Toyota. That's just not how the world works. If they want a Mercedes, they have to pay a Mercedes price.
Yeah.
And you better be comfortable talking about those prices. Clients don't want to give $1 million to a designer who seems uncomfortable asking for $1 million. That seems sketchy. What
Yeah.
obviously this person has never dealt with a project of this size. So I'm going
Mm.
to find somebody who has. So I love that. Talk about money early and often. And I agree, put your prices on your website. It's a really good way for clients to self-qualify.
Yes.
They'll say, we meet tragically thousands of designers every year who say, I want to do high-end luxury projects. And I say, what do you charge? And it's like, $70 an hour. Okay, well, you're not going to, because it
Mm.
doesn't look luxury. It doesn't look, and clients they pick up on these things like almost immediately in a blink, as
Yeah.
Malcolm Gladwell will say, in a blink, they know whether you're high end or not. And every single thing on your website better be high end, or you've lost that customer forever.
Yeah. Last time you were talking about how sometimes when something is too cheap, then you don't even perceive the value, and the
Yeah.
value could be there. I remember when we hired a
Yeah.
professional photographer for our company brand photo shoots. I was looking at prices and some of them seemed like they could be great photographers, but the price was so low. I thought this can't be right.
Yeah.
Something's off. And I end up choosing the more expensive option because it
Yeah.
just perceived I perceived it as this person's going to take care of me. They're going to have all the bells and whistles. I don't,
Yeah.
someone that's too cheap, maybe I got to manage them and I don't want that. I don't have time for that.
They don't seem like an expert. They don't seem like they
Yeah.
have confidence, and I'm not giving my money to somebody who's not an expert.
Yeah.
I mean, for what we do for a living in interior design is expensive.
Mm.
And the money is like after tax dollars when you're talking about a residential project, like it matters.
Hmm.
So they need to know that you're comfortable working in that snack bracket, I guess, if you will.
Yeah.
It's so cute. It reminds me, once years ago, we hired this junior designer and we were going into a project. We were doing an installation in a house, and she walked in and the clients were there. It was installation day. They were leaving because we don't let them stick around for installation, but the clients were there, and in walks this junior designer. She goes, "Oh my God, this is a mansion." And I was like, oh my God, this is so after the clients left, I took her aside. I'm like, oh my God, never again, never again. You have to act like this is nothing. This is like, oh, it's a little house, a little project. Just clients don't want, clients laughed. It was fine, but it was like, oh no.
That's sweet.
Oh, Danielle, I'm really good. I put you on the spot today. You did really well answering all those questions. I'm gonna put you on the spot one more time. We end
Okay.
every episode with something called design intervention, which is just a great piece of business advice. It could be about any topic. It could be something you learned from David C. Baker. It could be
Hmm.
anything. Just great piece of business advice you want to leave everybody with.
I think I'll talk about time management and how I figured out how to get my time
Tell us.
in
I'm
control.
listening.
It's not anything crazy, but for 2 weeks I t tracked every single minute of my day.
Ooh.
And I think actually maybe I did it for more than 2 weeks, but I challenged myself for 2 weeks and I was really honest with myself. If I was dilly-dallying, I put that in the time tracker and I started to see patterns. I started to see what times and which days I had the most productivity. I started to notice patterns about my work environment as well. And then I use that information to not judge myself, but work with it. And it's really, really fundamentally changed the way I work, the way I manage my time. So now, for example, every Monday afternoons, I spend like 2 hours planning the rest of the week because I need that to, wake up in the morning and know what I'm going to do. And I used to think that was a waste of time, that like, just why plan? Just get right into it. But no, it's been tremendously helpful. So
I love that. I never
yeah,
thought of doing that. Boy, wow. Okay. I wonder how much time I would spend on. I don't spend a ton of time on social media. I know when you talk about marketing, I'm terrible at it. I'd rather be doing something else. But
you'd rather be designing.
yeah, I do spend a little time looking at recipes on the New York Times app, or looking at the Instagram. Like mostly I look on Instagram to see what my kids are up to.
You're spying on them.
Shh, don't tell them. Don't tell them. But that's a really good idea. I think, I don't know if I want to commit to doing that, but I feel like I should commit to doing that, tracking my time for a couple of weeks at least to
Like auditing
see.
yourself.
Yeah, it's smart. I think it's really smart. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and playing my current obsession on a game is, oh, what is it called? It's like some fish thing. Anyway, I don't know. It's stupid. I'll play a game for a little while and then I go, no, I can't play games anymore. And I delete them all. And then a few months go by and I add a game and then I start playing the game again. But usually I only play if I'm watching like trashy TV, like Traders or something, which I'm obsessed with. Danielle, it's always good to have you on. You're invited back anytime. Daniela Furtado, anytime.
Thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure.
All right. Be well.